Unaenda Mombasa unaambia wale na usemi ni nani? Wale walichukua bandari.
Uhuru's bare knuckle. President Uhuru Kenyatta tells Kenyans not to buy into political deceit. Road to the polls. First batch of presidential ballot papers arrive at JKIA. Last minute push. Kenya Kwanza and Azimio traverse different parts of the country as they try to consolidate their support ahead of the polls.
Yeah, get down, turn around, go to town, boot, scoot, boogie.
And KBC goes country. We hold a one-on-one interview with the undisputed African king of country music, Sir Elvis. And Wangeshi is our sign language interpreter tonight. My name is John Jacob Kioria. We begin tonight's broadcast with the news that President Uhuru Kenyatta has dismissed election pledges made by his deputy William Ruto, saying they are full of contradictions. On his second day tour of Nakuru County, the head of state called on the electorate to vote for Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party flag bearer Raila Odinga and Jubilee Party candidates. Gishoki Washira has that report.
For a second day running, President Uhuru Kenyatta was in Nakuru County commissioning development projects, during which he rallied the electorate behind Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party flag bearer Raila Odinga.
Usiye watu ambao watadanganywa na siasa ya pesa nane. Tunataka Wakenya wawe kitu kimoja. Na tunataka hii nchi iweze kuendelea na yale maendeleo ambayo yako.
President Uhuru combining his vernacular language and Kiswahili to deconstruct his deputy William Ruto's narrative in wooing Mount Kenya voters.
Kuacha spidi nyingi na kujua ya kwamba kazi na ukweli washinda matusi na chuki.
The president likened his handshake with Raila Odinga of 2018 to the one he did with his deputy in 2012, saying his objective was the quest for national unity.
Hata hawa wengine ni wetu, lakini inaonekana they need time ya kutulia.
The head of state urged Kenyans to vote in leaders who practice politics of honesty and dignity. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Let's focus on the election preparedness now. And the first batch of the 2022 presidential ballot papers has arrived in the country. The 225 pallets each contain 54 ballot boxes from Greece and was received Wednesday morning by the IBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera. Zainab Said was at the airport and filed the following report.
With 12 days remaining to the general election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IBC has this morning received the first batch of the presidential ballot papers from Athens, Greece. Speaking at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport when she received the first 225 pellets of presidential ballot papers out of the 865 expected in the country by 3rd August, IBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera revealed that the court cases against the electoral process had derailed the arrival of final election materials in the country from 29th July to 3rd August.
We have organized in such a way that the late delivery of the boxes are ballot boxes for counties that are nearby, Nairobi, Kiambu and the like, but the far-fetched counties will have everything before the 3rd.
The monitoring team, comprising of different stakeholders, among them agents from Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition, who last week flew to Athens to witness the ballot printing, also confirming their satisfaction of the process.
Whatever has been there is what we agreed on, what we saw, how we found it, and I tend to believe that that is the real situation, which is there at Greece and what has come back to Kenya.
Went to Greece, we inspected the printing and packaging of the ballot papers for the presidential position, and we're in agreement that indeed the process was conducted, and Azimio shall also communicate further.
IEBC says the use of manual vote register is still among its option during the election.
The Commission has printed a manual voter register that is packed in the presidential ballot box, the ones that are behind us. So the voter register is cut into the number of voters in that polling station. So yes, it is available, but of course the Commission has also put protocols on how that manual register is going to be used.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Back to succession politics now. In Azimio One Kenya, presidential candidate Raila Odinga has pledged to restore peace and repossess grabbed land in Laikipia County if elected in the August 9 polls. Odinga, accompanied by his running mate Martha Karua and Azimio allied leaders, toured Laikipia and Nyeri counties, where they urged voters to come out in large numbers to vote for Azimio on the polling day.
Azimio One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga intensified his campaigns and returned to the mountain, pitching camp in Laikipia and Nyeri counties.
Saa ingine kuna baa la njaa hapa kwa sababu ya ukame, mifugo zimekufa, hata mimea zimenyauka. Tunaleta mpango ya kusaidia Wakenya ambao wako katika hali kama hayo. Inaitwa kwa kimombo Social Protection Program.
Odinga and his entourage promised to address insecurity, recover looted land, address water shortage and establish manufacturing industries for Laikipia residents.
Hapa nyinyi mnatoa ushuru kila siku, lakini kichangia katika hazina kule, jamaa wanafanya mpango, wanakwenda wanachota. Tutaziba hizo mianya zote, na hii pesa itabaki katika miliki ya kina wananchi, tutatumia kwa upande wa maendeleo.
Baba na Martha, to clear.
Enough is enough.
Kuondoa wafisadi, turudishiwe shamba yetu, ng'ombe zetu zipate mahali ya kukula.
Odinga pledged to improve living conditions of Kenyans, urging the locals to come out in large numbers to vote for Azimio come August 9th.
Mko tayari? Wangapi wako tayari kupiga kura kwa mama na baba hapa nione?
Leaders allied to the Azimio coalition defended Raila's decision to snub the presidential debate.
Watu wafungue macho. Haiwezekani, and I want to say this here very clearly so it is understood. Kama umeshindwa kufanya kuanzia mwaka wa 2013 mpaka mwaka wa 2022, hauwezi kufanya 2022 kwenda mbele, haiwezekani.
Na mimi nawaonya wa Kenya kama mzee wenu. Mimi nawaonya, mimi nawaambia sasa, musicheze na kura yenu. Musicheze na kura yenu nyinyi. Musiuze kura yenu.
Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
And our United Democratic Alliance UDA presidential candidate William Ruto says his administration will reduce the cost of living if he ascends to power after the August 9th polls. Ruto, who spoke during a vote hunting mission in Kirinyaga, Embu and Mbere, said his government will revive the ailing economy by establishing a 200 billion shillings agro-processing fund to aid growth in the agriculture sector and improve food production.
The state of the economy and the high cost of living has become rich fodder for politicians as they seek to consolidate their support from Kenyans across the country. And as they traverse the counties of Embu and Kirinyaga, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade would pledge to revive the economy if they win the August 9 general election.
Mwaka huu tunaweka pesa ya serikali kupunguza gharama ya maisha, na tunaanza kwa kupunguza gharama ya mbegu, gharama ya mbolea, na kumsaidia kila mkulima aweze kufikisha mazao yake sokoni na apate bei ya sawasawa, ili tutumie kilimo kuweka pesa kwa mfuko ya mwananchi na watuzalishie chakula ya kutosha, tuweze kuhakikisha kwamba kila Mkenya anaweza kulisha familia yake.
Led by the Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate William Ruto, The leaders called on their opponents not to interfere with the IEBC's mandate, saying that the entity was a legal constitutional body whose independence must be respected.
Ameanza kusema sijui hataki IEBC, amesema sijui register iko na shida gani, amesema Chebukati sijui iko na shida gani. Unajua walianza kusema electronic register, wakakuja manual register. I want to tell them this: William Ruto is ready for elections next week but one, with whichever register.
The leaders who accompanied him exuded confidence that Ruto would win the country's top seat effortlessly, as he has demonstrated to Kenyans that he has a workable manifesto.
Serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ikiongozwa na William Ruto, ndani ya siku 100 tutaongeza hao mshahara na marupurupu wakae mzuri. Lakini nyinyi sasa tukiongeza nyinyi mshahara mkuu wangwana.
Mimi nataka kuonesha kitu, kwa sababu tarehe 9 kuna kitu inaitwa freedom is coming, si ndio? Freedom is.
Ninawaomba tujenge chama na taifa na serikali ambayo italeta Wakenya pamoja, lakini pia itazingatia mwananchi wa kawaida, ili tuweze tukainua biashara zetu, ili mambo ya uchumi tuweze tukapanga na tuhakikishe kwamba mambo ya ukulima tumeifufua.
Here are some reactions to the presidential debate held last night. And Kiambu United Democratic Alliance leaders have urged the electorate to vote for Deputy President William Ruto in the forthcoming general elections. Speaking in Kiambu, the leaders commended the party leader for taking part in the presidential debate Tuesday evening. At a separate event, Azimio la Umoja allied leaders defended Raila's move to snap the debate.
Gubernatorial candidate Kimani Wamatangi and Kabete MP James Githua have patted Kenya Kwanza's flag bearer William Ruto's back for the bold move during Tuesday's presidential debate.
Party's manifesto and our plan has nothing to hide. We are ready to come out and answer any questions, as our flag bearer showed yesterday. We are open. We are saying this will be a government of the people, by the people and for the people.
The leader spoke while drumming up their support for William Ruto, urging the electorate to vote him.
Alionyesha ujasiri na tuna imani kwamba yeye ndiye atakuwa president wetu wa 5 tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8.
Elsewhere, Thika Town Jubilee parliamentary candidate David Gakuyo has called on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to seal all loopholes that would raise questions as it prepares to conduct a free, fair and credible elections. Gakuyo also defended Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate for his decision to pull out of the presidential debate.
Tunataka kuambia Chebukati, yeye ni referee, na referee hapendelei pande yoyote. Hatutaki kuona kama kuna watu wengine wanalete vitu ya kufanya uchaguzi na serikali yake na IBC haijui.
Finally, Uasin Gishu gubernatorial aspirant Zedekiah Bundotich Elias Buzeki has condemned the stoning of one of his campaign vehicles at the notorious Silver Line stop in Eldoret town.
For us to be stoned at night is not a coincidence either. So these people are trailing us. And these people are funded by senior leaders here.
Buzeki, who was accompanied by other aspirants and his supporters to Eldoret police station to report the incident, condemned the act as he called for political sobriety
and determination to ensure that they go beyond the line of duty to guarantee the safety of all the residents of Uasin Gishu so that they can be able to vote and exercise their civil duty on the 9th. Then we are calling for backup from national government. We want backup in Uasin Gishu, and we need it now.
Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
And the Cabinet Secretary Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, is calling on Kenyans to elect leaders with integrity in the August 9th general election. Speaking during the launch of the Money Laundering and Terrorism Financial National Risk Assessment Report, Matiang'i challenged financial regulatory actors to ensure that the country is not turned into an illicit economy.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Matiang'i has challenged government institutions to work together and aid in the fight against money laundering, which he said has been on the rise in the country. Speaking during the launch of a report on the risk assessment of money laundering and terrorism, Dr. Matiang'i urged Kenyans to elect leaders of integrity come August 9th, stressing the need of financial regulatory actors to ring-fence Kenya from illicit funds.
I would like to urge that we step forward. We move on to the next dynamic environment and look at how best we can now tackle the complex dimensions of how money laundering is funding the negative dimensions of our lives and is going to affect us as we go along.
Sentiments echoed by Director of Public Prosecution and Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyombai.
I want to assure both the DGFRC, the IG, and the CS of our commitment as prosecutors in ensuring the recommendations of the assessments are received and delivered as per the recommendations. I therefore want to assure you of our commitment as the ODPP.
The investigations relating to the money laundering were low, but I want to promise the DG that we are going to step it up because now we have the directions.
In the risk assessment report, tax evasion was singled out and mainly driven by abusive transfer pricing and misinforming of services.
Car dealers charging billions of shillings. How many cars do you need to sell to be able to have billions of shillings? And all these dealers are friends of senior politicians. They are now the ones financing all these 200, 500 shilling notes arrangements in the villages and so on. This is a serious challenge that we need to deal with.
The report, which was conducted in 2020 and 2021, was a self-assessment by Kenyan authorities using the National Risk Assessment Mechanism developed by the World Bank Group. The government has promised to step up its efforts of ensuring thorough investigation and prosecution of money laundering victims, even as regulatory actors have been challenged to ensure integrity prospers in the fight against the vice. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
And now the newly appointed Kenya Army Commander, Lieutenant General Peter Mbogonjiro, was on Wednesday sworn in an event witnessed by President Uhuru Kenyatta at the Nakuru State House. The event was conducted by the Head of Public Service, Joseph Kinyua, who also presided over the investiture ceremony for Brigadiers Zipporah Kioko and Alice Mate. The appointment and promotions were made last week by the Defence Council, chaired by Defence CS Eugene Wamala. The ceremony was attended by Kenya Defence Forces top brass, led by Chief of Defence Forces Robert Kariuki Kibochi.
That I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, that I will obey, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, and that I will protect and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya. So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Yes. Well done. Congratulations. Well done.
And now the government has deployed a contingent of security personnel to beef up security in Baragoi, Samburu North, following a shooting incident on Monday that left one person dead. According to reports, a teacher from Baragoi Boys High School was shot dead by armed criminals, causing panic among residents. Speaking on security matters, the Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i dismissed as untrue claims that the government has withdrawn National Police Reservice from the North Rift or any other part of the country.
Tension remains high in Baragoi town, Samburu North, following the murder of a person identified as a teacher of Baragoi Boys High School. The incident is said to have taken place on Monday and has left residents in shock.
Mimi nikiwa mchungaji, hiyo kitendo iliyotendeka ambaye kuna mmoja ya viongozi ambaye ni mwalimu wa shule ya upili ya Baragoi ambaye aliuliwa, na alipouliwa tulisikia uchungu sana.
Tumepata habari ambayo bado inaendelea mpaka sasa. Hata walianza kuchomeana mapikipiki, matuktuk. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni mambo mbaya sana. Siku hizi zinalala saa moja kwa sababu usalama ya watu si mzuri.
It is for this reason that security in this area has been beefed up to quell the rising fears.
Mwalimu hakuwa na ng'ombe wala mbuzi. Huyo mwalimu aliwawa tu mbaya. Serikali waangalie mambo ya usalama, hasa wakati huu wa uchaguzi. Walifu wanachukua nafasi hii sasa kupora watu.
We wish our government to intervene and see what to do about the security in Baragoi.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, Kupet Samburu branch, has condemned the killing of the English and literature teacher.
We lost our colleague, a brother, somebody who was dedicated to the service, and we feel like justice should be taken. The concerned people should be brought to book.
The brutal hand of characters who are there to know law has robbed us a hardworking English and literature colleague. As teachers' representatives, we condemn the act with the strongest terms possible.
Investigation has been launched into the incident. In the meantime, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has termed as reckless claims by Deputy President William Ruto that the spiraling incidents of insecurity in the Kerio Valley was as a result of the withdrawal of National Police Reservice by the government.
And I can tell you for a fact, if you spoke to the Inspector General of Police, or better still, if you went to the Regional Police Commander in Nakuru, he will tell you we have National Police Reservice in some parts of North Rift. There has never been a time we have withdrawn police officers from a particular part of the country. What happens in the security sector all the time is reviews are done from time to time, depending on the needs, what is needed in a particular area. And in most cases, consultations are done even with the local groups.
Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
At this point, we're taking our first breather on Prime Edition. When we come back, we'll give you a bit of cinemas and theatre. Carol Jenga will be in with business. Then a little bit later, I'll come in with sports to link up with Isaac Lemoka, who is on standby in Birmingham, United Kingdom for the Commonwealth Games. And then later on, we have a conversation on elections, and I'll be talking to Bishop Anthony Muheria of the Catholic Diocese of Nyeri, as well as Hassan Olenado of Supkem. Let's talk about religion and elections. But for now, let's take a breather.
My kids are always on their devices. Kila saa.
Mommy, look, I'm a cyber soldier.
Huyu, he's always on his social. But online ina mambo mengi. It's a new world of risks.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, manages Kenya's cyberspace to keep you and your family safe online so you can learn, interact, and thrive online.
Na mimi, can I be a cyber soldier too?
The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Come take a looky. Come take a looky here. Kuja muangalie. Form yangu wiko juu. Come take a looky. Come take a looky here. Cause you know it's your time and you shine right there and then. TCB Naturals. Hair that lets you shine.
You want me to be as decent as you? You who agreed to be Dad's lover because of money?
I just want you to know that in spite of all my mistakes, nobody, no woman in the world can ever take your place.
I'd like to take them with me to Spain on a trip. I would like them to see the place where I've been living for so long.
Gonzalo agreed to sign the divorce papers.
I just don't want you anywhere near my daughter. I don't want you near us, and I'm not going to risk it by letting you hurt the way you hurt me and Paulina.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. When an invasive mining company threatens the existence of her village, a city girl caught between two worlds must return home and overcome her painful quest to save the village. Will she succeed? Jacqueline Masheria reviews the drama series Country Queen in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
I can't do this anymore, Max. I'm tired of being your spare. You should probably go home to Mrs. Sibala, your wife. I'm sure she's wondering where her husband is.
The drama series Country Queen follows an ambitious event planner, Akisa Mutunga, who leads a comfortable but complicated life in the city.
Akisa, event planner?
It's Auntie Salome. It's your father. He's sick.
Akisa? Mom, Akisa si alikufa.
But the news of her father's illness takes her back to the village, where she is confronted with her dark past and severe relationships. Unfortunately, her father Mwalimu, who is also the village elder, dies. His death accelerates an expansion of a mining company in Silanga, Ekorok, that is on the brink of collapse until the discovery of gold in the village, which threatens the social fabric of the sleepy town.
On a personal level, it touches on the idea of early pregnancies, family strife. It touches on greed, individual greed, on a broader scale when it comes to community level and national level. It touches on corruption, it touches on land grabbing, it touches on natural resources.
We are here to send a message. Corruption has plagued this economy. To clean business.
Country Queen is directed by Vincent Mbaya, Tosh Gitonga and Brian Monene. The series also stars Melvin Alusa, Blessing Lungaho, Nini Washera and Sheila Munyiva, among others, in a thrilling tale that shows what happens when the past and present collide.
So because I knew Anna was a clinical officer, a lot of the research I was doing was on doctors and watching medical dramas and seeing how people act. So once I had done that research before, we had an incredible actors workshop where now we really got to be in tune and in touch with our characters. Coming to Country Queen and having the three voices directing was very interesting because you can see everyone's perspective and it makes sense.
Filmed in Nairobi, Machakos and Murang'a counties, Country Queen offers exciting and entertaining insights into both worlds of the urban and rural life. But what do these three counties offer to bring authenticity of the film?
The choice for Nairobi was obvious because we needed to show a very high-end, fast-moving, global-looking city against a very dry, remote, very simple village. So Murang'a and Machakos, being in close proximity to each other, offered that natural sort of choice to be able to go from green, lush to very dry and dusty.
Stop the fucking blood!
I want people to see their village back home, their auntie, their uncle, their grandparent, so their friend, someone who's going through what these characters are going.
I'm hoping that when they watch the show, it will teach us to come together. In Silanga, the community I'm from, the community came together to fight against one common enemy. And I think for Kenyans, if that's something we can pick, it can be incredible because there's a lot of injustice happening in the country. And I think we, the people, are the only ones who can stand up for ourselves.
Logistics on this. Kill any leaks.
Featuring a mix of English and Kiswahili, the family drama premiered officially on Netflix on the 15th of July this year and has received a positive reception from the audience.
I'm glad that Netflix has come in. They are the biggest streaming platform, and so for Kenya, that's a huge deal because it's a step in the right direction and it's a big step in the right direction.
The world knows we've got stories to tell. They know we can achieve world standards. So it's going to really help push the industry to newer levels in terms of quality, in terms of big players coming in and saying, you know what, this works. We can invest in Kenya. We can invest in the film industry in Kenya.
It was my baby. It was mine.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
When he was born in 1977, his parents named him Elvis, after renowned country music singer Sir Presley Elvis, who had just died that year. Baby Elvis would grow loving music and at some point getting hinged to the country genre. Tonight, a one-on-one with Sir Elvis, the undisputed African king of country music, whose first live radio show, he says, was on KBC English service upon his return from Norway, where he had been since age 7 and where he played in a country band.
I'm Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1 and now introducing the undisputed king of local country, Sir Elvis.
Telephone rang but 8:45. Heard his voice on the other end of a line. Wanted what was wrong this time.
What a beautiful piece indeed. So Sir Elvis, where do you draw this inspiration from?
It's been there ever since I was a little boy. When I learned to play the guitar at 16 and at 6 years old, not 16, 6 years old, I had already learned how to play the guitar. Ever since, I never looked back.
In your family, just curious, is there anyone who is also in the music industry?
I come from a family of musicians. My mother is a good singer, but she's very shy to sing, but very good. My father is a very good guitar player. Shy to play, but he plays much better than I do.
So other than music, what has Sir Elvis engaged in?
I've been involved in aircraft engineering and technology and other business on the sides too.
If God gave you a chance at reincarnation, who would you want to come back as?
Trust me, my straight answer would be I would still be me, but yeah, but I think I liked the music of Charlie Pride quite a bit and Jim Reeves too. So yeah.
What is your take about Kenyans' uptake of country music?
17 years ago, to be precise, I've been in the market. When I came in, it was really a very small segment of the population, but right now It's really good. It's really impressive.
Just give us a sneak peek into your world tour and memorable moments that you had therein.
The most humbling one was the one in Texas. That we did Texas Sounds International Country Music Awards in 2019, October, and that was really very, very successful for me personally because I had gone in and was competing with Americans in country music and the rest of the world, and sure enough came back with the Male Vocalist of the Year 2019.
Now, critics would come out and say that country music doesn't look like you. What do you have to say in that regard?
Anybody can like any style, yeah, and mine is country.
What should your fans expect going forward?
Album drop, check, yes. Tour around the country before I tour US and Europe again, check.
Any timelines, especially for the album launch? What should we be looking out for? Are we going to be having some originals or renditions in this album launch?
There is a little bit of some Christmas songs. This album is going to be purely written by me, and I'll be recording it.
Now, what lessons did you pick up from the COVID-19 pandemic as, a person in the music industry?
Anything can happen. There must always be a backup to that. Whatever I do, there must always be a backup.
What impact has the KBC Sundowner had on your career as well as, the uptake of country music in the country?
The first program to play my first demo CD was a breakfast show, and back then it was Bill Odedi who was the presenter for breakfast show. So that kind of like gave me the attention that I needed, and I worked with KBC even longer after that, many more times, and that was quite a huge turnaround for me.
Are you considering passing on your skills to the next generation?
I'm actually planning to set up academy that would be able to help new singers and to inspire the new generation of how they can be better performers and be better singers. Yeah, I have my kids too who are really very interested in performing arts too. And I look at them and I see myself in them. So
we are looking forward to the Sundowner event that is going to be taking place at the park Kitengela. Maybe you can give us a sneak peek on what the KBC Sundowner fans should be looking forward to.
Come on, baby, let's go. Let's keep Cadillac, blackjack, baby, meet me up, we gonna boogie. Yeah, get down, turn around, go to town, boot, scoot, boogie. Yeah, get down, turn around, go to town, boot, scoot, boogie.
Interesting. Now,
yes,
you have dealt with so many musicians, gone through their music. Do you have a favorite song?
I always have maintained that one of the most influential artists in my formative years as an artist was Charlie Pride.
Well, there you have it. We have been speaking to the undisputed king of local country music, Sir Elvis. I'm Regina Manyara, and you've been watching KBC Channel 1 from Bavaria Gardens.
Me to be as decent as you who agreed to be Dad's lover because of money?
I just want you to know that in spite of all my mistakes, nobody, no woman in the world can ever take your place.
I'd like to take them with me to Spain on a trip. I would like them to see the place where I've been living for so long.
Gonzalo agreed to sign the divorce papers.
I just don't want you anywhere near my daughter. I don't want you near us, and I'm not going to risk it by letting you hurt the way you hurt me and Paulina.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball and parasport, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. Let's now take a look at matters business. My name is Caroline Jenga. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has officially opened the rehabilitated Nakuru railway station. While launching the station, President Kenyatta said the facility is an important stopover for both freight and passenger trains destined for the western parts of the country.
The Nakuru railway station has been officially opened as part of the 3.6 billion shillings rehabilitation program of the Nakuru-Kisumu railway line. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the facility is part of a wider project to link the meter gauge railway to the standard gauge railway line to facilitate both freight and passenger trains movement from the port of Mombasa to the hinterland.
Tumekuja hapa kwa shughuli kadhaa kama hii ya kuanzisha tena hii reli yetu ya hapa Nakuru. Jana tulikuwa upande ya Maimahio huko Naivasha, na huko pia tulikuwa tumeenda kuanzisha reli lakini pia kuanzisha kiwanda.
The refurbishment of the 217 kilometers railway line is expected to open up towns along the Nakuru-Kisumu railway line for more investments.
Keep here connected by Nanyuki, line, Thika Nanyuki. Then you have this line coming down to Nakuru, all the way to Yondoro and Malava. Then it branches from here, it goes again all the way to Kisumu, Lake Victoria, and we connect from there by ship all the way to Kampala. This is a game changer.
Rehabilitation of the meter gauge railway is currently ongoing across the country, with the Voi Tata-Taveta MGR line revitalization program being the latest project to be undertaken by the government after Kenya Railways issued an eviction notice to encroachers living along the 127-kilometer Voi Tata-Taveta MGR line. Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
The Central Bank of Kenya has retained the base lending rate at 7.5% on the hopes that inflation will ease in the near term. Central Bank Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge says the decision has also been hinged on indications that international commodity prices, particularly crude oil, wheat and edible oils, have begun to reduce. This is despite elevated global inflationary pressures, financial market volatility amid the tightening of monetary policy in the advanced economies. In May, the Monetary Policy Committee raised the central bank base lending rate by 50 basis points to 7.50% in order to stem rising inflation and stabilize the shilling. This was the first hike by the policymakers in nearly 7 years. In June, Kenya's inflation hit a 58th month high on soaring food prices, crossing the government's upper limit ceiling of 7.5% for the first time in nearly 5 years. A recent meeting by IMF officials appealed to the Central Bank of Kenya to consider tightening the base rate to avoid the spillover effects. The rising cost of basic commodities such as cooking oil, flour and cooking gas on the back of the war in Ukraine has squeezed most Kenyan households' budget. And during today's Monetary Policy Committee sitting, policymakers retained the base lending rate at 7.5% on expectations that inflation will start to reduce. CBK Governor Patrick Njoroge noted that global commodity prices for oil, wheat and edible oils have begun to moderate, adding that these developments are likely to ease domestic inflationary pressures in the near term. In June, overall inflation rose to 7.9% from 7.1% in May due to increases in food and fuel prices. Dr. Njoroge said that the measures employed by the government to stabilize fuel prices, lower electricity and subsidies on fertilizer prices, maize, cooking gas is easing the rate of inflation. Kenya is set to earn at least 42 billion shillings in foreign exchange annually once 6 factories manufacturing ceramic and granite tiles, sanitary towels, toilet paper and towel napkins, as well as iron and aluminium products are operational. The 91 billion shillings manufacturing investment by the Turkish industry holdings at the Naivasha Special Economic Zone will see 70% of the output destined for Europe and the United States of America market, while the rest will be sold locally and regionally.
The 91 billion shillings investment is expected to create at least 2,800 direct jobs and a further 30,000 indirect jobs for the local community.
Bizim ihtiyacımız olanları biz alacağız. İhtiyacımızın dışındakileri de Kenya sanayisine vereceğiz.
So which means we will have a manpower, educated manpower, which we will employ, and if more, then we can also give the opportunity to other industries to source their manpower from our schools.
Following the groundbreaking ceremony for the 6 factories owned by the Turkish Industry Holdings at the Special Economic Zone in Naivasha by President Uhuru Kenyatta, the investors are optimistic that their investment will pay off.
We can rest assured that in coming 10 years' time, Kenya, especially Naivasha, will be the hub of the furniture industry, that's for sure, for Africa.
70% of the products manufactured at the 6 factories, including ceramic and granite tiles, sanitary towels, toilet paper and towel napkins, as well as iron and aluminium products, will be destined for the EU and the United States of America market, while the rest will find their way to local shelves and the regional market, earning Kenya 42 billion shillings in foreign currency every year. The company will be sourcing raw materials locally to support the production.
So if you have an upper hand of the technological approach to your investment, if you are delayed, that someone else may come into the market using the better technology than you, then your plan is collapsed. That's why 30 months is our targeted.
Operationalization of the factories has been earmarked for 2025. Availability of raw materials, human resource and improved infrastructure seem to continue making Kenya an ideal investment destination if the 90 billion shillings investment by Turkish Industry Holdings is anything to go by. I'm Regina Manyara reporting for Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you, Regina Manyara, for that report. Now, investors' appetite for government papers dominated Kenya's capital markets in the second quarter of this year. The Capital Markets Authority quarterly statistics show the government's accepted offers for bonds worth 202 billion shillings, which is an aggregated acceptance rate of 85%.
The quarterly report by the market regulator comes even as the National Treasury closed its local borrowing program for the 2021-2022 financial year. In the second quarter of 2022, the market capitalization at the Nairobi Securities Exchange recorded a 20.1% drop to 1.9 trillion shillings in quarter 2 2022, down from 2.4 trillion recorded in Q1 2022. C20 share and the NSE all share indices decreased by 12.66% and 20.08% respectively in Q2 2022, recording 1.613 points and 124.5 points respectively in June 2022. Equity turnover for Q2 2022 stood at 26 billion, compared to 27 billion registered in Q1 2022, a 5.83% decrease. In addition to this, bond market turnover increased in Q2 2022 by 2.47%, with 195 billion worth of bonds being traded compared to 190 billion traded in Q1 2022.
Now to the agriculture sector, the government has availed 1 billion shillings to finance completion of phase 3 of Weiwei irrigation scheme, which is 70% done. Regional Development Principal Secretary Dr. Belio Kipsang says the cash will finance, among other, civil works, project design and supervision of installation of irrigation infrastructure, as well as capacity building.
The Weiwei irrigation scheme was started in 1984 to be done in phases to ensure food security for the area. The first phase of the scheme was piloted in 1986, while the second phase was completed in 1992. The third phase was commissioned in 2016, covering an area of 325 hectares. However, its completion has been delayed by a myriad of challenges.
We've been able to do phase 1, phase 2, now we are at phase 3. Phase 3 has had its own challenges, some little challenges, but we were able to surmount the challenges. The president launched it in 2016, and Corona came in, and it led to quite some delay of the project.
The government has released 1 billion shillings to complete the third phase of the project, which is 70% complete.
I'm happy to say now that the phase 3 of the project has now started. Our teams from Italy, as with the contracting team, the consulting team, are now on the ground. We have our brother from the Italian corporation who is driving the process. So I would want to say that our third phase, which is going to be almost more than 300 hectares, is already being moved forward.
The government projects to spend 300 million shillings on capacity building that is expected to yield efficiencies and food security in the area.
I want to say that phase 1 and phase 2 of the project is already putting a lot of money into the pockets of our farmers. Annually, they generate on average around 75 million. They produce 1,500 tons.
The county government of West Pokot is involved in the upgrade of canals to increase irrigation for water efficiency from the current 30% to 75%. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
That story brings to a close business news for tonight, but you can find more business and news stories on our website at kbc.co.ke. We take a short commercial break, but when we come back, JJ Kioria will be bringing you the sports update. My name is Caroline Jenga. Have a good night.
Ujenzi wa barabara mashinani na vijijini katika kila pembe ya taifa hili umechangia pakubwa katika kuinua maisha ya Wakenya.
The record is there for all to see. Across all 8 former provinces in each of the 47 counties, we have transformed our country 1 kilometer at a time.
His Excellency the President has had a good agenda of doing roads throughout the country. We are able to maintain those roads in that condition for posterity.
tunashukuru sana Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta kwa kutufikiria. Hapa kwetu hata tunaiita Uhuru Road kwa sababu he's the only person who promised na akatenda.
Time for us to take sports now. A national hockey team head coach Jacqueline Mwangi says her players are elated to take part in the 2022 Birmingham Commonwealth Games, which get underway tomorrow in Birmingham, United Kingdom. Kenya was slotted to take part in the games through the reallocation of returned qualification slots from the teams who opted not to take part in the event. Our reporter Isaac Lamoka, who is in Birmingham, has the details.
Kenya national hockey team head coach Jacqueline Mwangi has welcomed the receiving of the reallocated place to Kenya to participate in this year's 22nd edition of the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK, that is set for tomorrow, the 28th of July to 8th of next month. Speaking after her charges intensified their training at the University of Birmingham yesterday, Mwangi said it is a great opportunity for the girls to experience the best in the world, even as she is the inclusion of young blood playing with the senior players.
Tumefurahi sana kama wachezaji na coaching committee hapa kuja kuwa na team. Tutajitahidi, tutafanya vilivyo ku make sure that tumekuja home na kitu, at least our pride at the end of the day. So nashukuru sana kwa hii opportunity tumepatia wasichana wetu. Asanteni.
Coach Jacqueline Mwangi has included 19-year-old Odhiambo Nicole in her team that will be up against defending champions New Zealand, runners-up Australia and Ghana, in a move that seems to give the young Turks a chance to prove their brilliance on the international platform.
I think it's a good blend. I think there's a good blend between the more mature players and the young players. And we want growth in hockey. And this is what we have. And I think they're excited to be here. They want to show that they can do their best. And yeah, that's what we expect. And that's what they expect of themselves as well. New Zealand, we have New Zealand, Australia, Scotland and South Africa. Good teams, but we're also a good team. We've come here to show that we can play hockey and that we can play in the highest level. So we'll do our best. Our people at home must know that we've come to do our best and we'll try to tutajitolea.
Kenya, who will take on New Zealand on their first match of the Commonwealth campaign on the 29th of August, had a chance for the second time yesterday to have a feel of the field they intend to continue with their eagerness of winning a medal at the Commonwealth Games when they played against African giants Ghana at the University of Birmingham yesterday in a friendly match.
I think everything is okay. So far we've done 2 sessions here and the friendly match today, and it's a good opportunity because we've gotten to test the pitch before the matches coming, and I think we're prepared. From the friendly now we know what we're up to, and we're going to focus now more and see how we can improve on our doings today.
Nafisa Omaru scored twice in the first half for Ghana before Grace Nabwire scored a consolation goal for Kenya, with coach Jacqueline exuding confidence that the team will perform exemplary well during the games, even as she loaded her charges for exhibiting bravery before their first game on the 29th against New Zealand. The Kenyan ladies will be representing the country at the Games for the first time when the women's hockey kicks off from July 29th before the finals are staged on the 7th of August. Kenya has her eyes set on winning medals in several disciplines at the Games, including athletics, boxing, hockey, swimming, rugby, parasports, among other disciplines. Reporting from Birmingham, UK, my name is Isaac Lemoka.
Before we wrap up sports tonight, there's a luncheon currently happening in Birmingham, organized in honor of the athletes from Kenya, or the gamers from Kenya. And here is Manoa Sipisu, the spokesperson, or rather the Kenyan representative or the High Commissioner to the United Kingdom.
Eagerness to this moment, and to be able to go back home our heads held high as always. Now, allow me to request the Cabinet Secretary to make her remarks, introduce her guest, and then we can head to dinner, which I think some of us are starting to wonder when will that moment come. Thank you very much. Karibu. Maybe while you come, Cabinet Secretary, just to thank the mushrooms for being here today. They were innocently visiting my office last week on other business when I told them, but Birmingham is here, you must come. So, asante.
Good evening. Let me begin by thanking His Excellency the High Commissioner of the Republic of Kenya to the United Kingdom, my brother, my friend, my colleague, Manoa Asipisu, his amazingly beautiful wife. Mnakubali? Eh? Tunapiga makofi bwana. It's really always just wonderful to see you. And his amazing family that's here with us. Let me recognize in a very, very special way my sister, my dear friend, my co-conspirator in many ways on many issues. The Secretary General of the Commonwealth, the Right Honourable, the Baroness Patricia Scotland, QC. Now, I won't tell you all the other titles that the Honourable Lady has, but suffice it to say that she is our Secretary General. We're very, very, very pleased that you're here, Secretary General, with all of us. And I especially wanted, with His Excellency's invitation, to make sure that you met our amazing athletes, our sportsmen and women. You've heard about them many times, and I thought that it would be wonderful for you to be amongst them as well. We have the Principal Secretary in the Department of Culture and Heritage, Josferam Kobe. And I think after I've done all my salutations, because I really have to recognize a lot of people that are seated in here with us and who have made such an amazing contribution, like the High Commissioner has done, to bring us all together this evening. So I'm going to begin with the President of the National Olympic Committee, is a very, very dear friend of mine, Paul Tergat, who is an Olympian, a gold medalist, and so many other accolades, but also a member of the IOC, and represents us, in there and on many other bodies. General Tuwe is here, the President of AK. Let me recognize Ambassador Makdwalo, who is Chairman, ADAC. I think that both Ambassador Makdwalo and the acting CEO won't have any problems. We don't have any problems here. There are no issues. So you're going to have a wonderful time. Have a real break, because all these athletes are clean. All of them. I'm giving you the assurance that they are really clean. And so we're looking forward to the gold medals without any issues. The CDM is here with us. Acting CEO, I think you should probably stand so that people can recognize you. Secretary General, NOC, I hope he's here. He's not? Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, let me just recognize everybody who's here with us. The managers, the physiotherapists, the doctors, all the technical benches that are here with us. And thank you very, very much for the contribution that you've made. Anyone who's seated in this room and who's going to compete is already a winner. Really, you're already winners. The journey, Your Excellency Ambassador, the journey to Birmingham was not an easy one. They had to compete. They had to work really, really hard to be among the very select few that came and are seated here with us this evening. So they've already done, as far as I'm concerned, just amazing work, a wonderful effort, and sacrificed a lot already because they had to go into camp, live in the camp. We supervised everything that they were doing, monitored them, which is never easy for anyone to go through. And so we're really, really proud of them. I am especially, proud of this team of athletes. Let me, before I make any further comments, and praise His Excellency the Ambassador for having all of us here today for dinner, invite first PS Mkobe so that she can just say Jambo, so you can hear her voice. And then I would invite Her Excellency the Secretary General.
Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Amina Mohammed, there speaking to the athletes. The Kenyan Embassy has organized a luncheon in honor of the gamers who are participating in the Commonwealth Games, and our team of Isaac Lumoka and Peter Otieno are on standby. I'm sure we'll be updating you as regards the more details of the speech by Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed. But it's time to switch gears, talk about politics, but politics in a different light, because I have men of the cloth who are joining us tonight to talk about elections. Hassan Olenado is from the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, or SUPKEM. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And Archbishop Anthony Muheria of the Catholic Diocese of Nyeri. Both of you gentlemen are very much welcome.
Thank you.
To talk about the conducting of this election, because it is very important, to start with you, Archbishop Muheria. From where you sit as a man of the cloth, leading faithfuls, we have an institution called the IEBC. Do you have confidence in the IEBC?
Thank you very much. I think all of us first are concerned about the delivery of elections that are fair, that are free and credible. And we've been building up on IEBC, and they have had many hurdles. But to be honest, we currently give them a fairly good score as we cross onto the day of election. And we do believe that they can pull up still higher to enhance the confidence and the trust that the Kenyans should give them. And we do hope that this coming 10 days will actually put in better they'll be able to explain and lead the Kenyans towards that level of confidence that we would desire at the moment of the polls. They, and we hope, are going to be able to weather the current storms that seem to mar that image that they've been trying to build up. We, as church, have been challenging them and asking them to speak about the things that we see are hurdles, because indeed they're still hurdles that are not yet sorted.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. But Hassan, do you have confidence in the IEBC?
Thank you for having us. Actually, yes, we have confidence with IEBC. Actually, it is a responsibility of the Kenyan people to have confidence in IEBC, because it's our institution. It's the institution that was established to serve the people of this country. It is our responsibility, whenever we have issues, to identify those issues and call for the correction of the same. But we cannot honestly sit down and say we don't have confidence in IEBC, because this is a very critical institution in the democracy of this country. And what is actually even more encouraging is the recent survey. I think there was a survey that gave IEBC some sort of good standing in terms of the confidence Kenyans have. So up to now, we are good to go. Yeah.
As we talk about the confidence that you have as church on the IEBC, the recent happenings this weekend, actually, that puts the IEBC on the spot in terms of how it is operating. It appears like it is operating in opaqueness, particularly when it comes to technology and who is going to operate that technology. And I think you saw the statement by the DCI. For the IEBC to respond at 1 a.m. in the morning to that statement by DCI Kinoti, doesn't it show a form of opaqueness on the part of the IEBC?
First, I think it is important that all institutions that are involved in the delivery of the election, be they the security agencies, be they the government agencies, and of course the IEBC, which is really central, and all of us Kenyans, but first those institutions must try as far as possible to sort out problems without necessarily bringing them into the public domain of squabbles, because there are problems, and I think those are reasons. There are reasons for Kenyans to ask the questions that we are asking. But I do not think we have been treated too often to public squabbles and settling of scores or showing who is right and who is wrong, while these things should be sorted out within those agencies themselves. So that, I think, is the first thing I would like to say. The second thing is to say the transparency that we desire to see in IEBC is something we are calling them to be more and more transparent about whatever means the processes that will lead to the delivery of the election. It is the material that is coming, that they explain to Kenyans. And I do hope, I honestly do hope, and I have reasons to hope so, that in the next 2-3 days, a lot more of this should come in the public domain. And I think there is something about communication, and we are challenging IEBC, come out clean about every single thing. And if there are things that perhaps may have been not all that right, that's okay, we go ahead. But I think the small or not so small, but not central issues should not dominate the debate. For me, what's important is, have the ballots arrived? Are they well secured? Is the security of the ballots high? Is there a security that of the transmission? Those are the central core things. These, which are good, the stickers are important, but the ballot is more important than the stickers. Let's not lose the sight of the ball. We are looking for elections. So these other things are important. We discuss them, but let's discuss the real issues that are the ones which will really make this country either deliver an elections on time and well and credibly.
In terms of public engagement, Hassan, in terms of the IEBC explaining itself, particularly over this saga that has happened over the weekend, how do you think they have fared? And have they built public confidence in the institution that is IEBC?
Actually, I don't think we were supposed to wait until such things happen for IEBC to inform Kenyans what's going on. And I want also to echo what Archbishop has actually just mentioned. There was actually no need for that kind of squabbles to be brought to the public, because the DCI or security organization of this country have every right to do their things for the interest of this country. IEBC on the other side are also doing their own work. But if there are issues that they need to jointly agree on, then those things have to be done in the way the government agencies operate. They have to do them behind the scenes, and then we don't need actually to be having the ulubalu of mobilizing the media and really showing some interesting things behind the scenes, because that one actually erodes the credibility of the Kenyan people. And it also creates a scenario where Kenyans will suspect certain conflict within government institutions, which is not a good thing, especially now that we are going to the general election. We are lucky that this time we have semblance of a kind of sobriety in the country. There is a kind of calm in the country that we need to celebrate that up to now, because it's only where we have these kind of rallies you'll see a lot of political activity. But in the absence of any political rally, you will find Kenyans going on with their daily Chorus, they are not involved in any way. You don't even see groupings now even in the city. People discussing hot politics, kind of arguments. You don't see all those. To me, that is what we need to guard and to protect as a country, so that we go to the elections without those kind of sideshows where we have communities being mobilized because certain fears are raised. Finally, is that you have seen what that particular incident has actually, in a way, mobilized the bloggers, the social media players, and you have seen what the kind of the messages we are now seeing all over flooding in blogs, in the Facebook pages and kind of stuff. Again, calling to question the role of individuals and commissioners within the IEBC, which is not a good thing. We have also seen even some religious leaders being shown as people who are playing some key role because in this issue, because they share names with certain players within, by those people who have been named as some of the key players within what has been going on between IBC and DCI. But in brief, I think, in my view, the response of IEBC, the statement you are actually mentioning that was released at 1 p.m. attempted to address some of the issues. They actually made clear certain things. Although the problem of the Kenyan people, we wanted also several pages, just the way the DCI has done. So, but now when we saw the summary, then we still asking why is it too short? Too short. It should be longer than the other one, so that we can be convinced that there's answered questions. But in my view, they addressed some of the issues that were critical to them.
And as Hassan rightly puts it, that statement by Chebukati, even though it comes at 1 a.m., summarily tries to address the issues raised by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. But both are government agencies, even though one is independent, the other one answerable to the Inspector General of Police. But one wonders, could this be handled differently?
I think I would like more than questioning. I like to challenge. Because I think sometimes Kenyans, we drive with a rear view mirror. We don't want to, we seem not to know where we want to go. We seem only to find out the bumps that we hit behind. They've hit bumps, there is no doubt about that. And perhaps it would not have been, all that exchange need not have happened. But I think the challenge is to challenge the IBC and tell them, and together with the DCI, let's get out, let's see what is possible to explain to the Kenyans. And let's get over with this saga and go ahead with explaining how the elections will be protected, defended, and delivered. So I really think I would like to challenge the communication of the IBC. I'd like to challenge also the sobriety of handling that, both within government, using the agencies, or should they need someone else to come in order to see what needed, who overstepped, who didn't do what. But that's a government issue. But the public have a right to hear. So I would say right now what we should be thinking about is eyes on ball, 9th of August, main issues, main players, delivery of the votes to the stations, or the votes in. Those are the questions we want to ask the IBC, because that is their competence, and we want to be very, very convinced. And I do believe they have the time. 10 days are good enough for them to actually sell to us what they have. And I do pray that in the next few days we'll see a little more of that explanation, and more than just explanation, exposition of what they have in store and lined up, so that every Kenyan will feel, yes, indeed, this was transparent, this was secured, there was no room for foul play of mischief. And hopefully that we in this way will have an election we all can celebrate in the way it's been carried out.
All right. Let's talk about the main players, because you talk about main players. 10 days towards the next general election, you have one side of a political divide really critiquing and criticizing the IEBC and its conduct of its affairs. Then you have the other side, on the other hand, overly defending the IEBC. And the question again, Hassan Olenado, is when you see these two major sides, haggling over IEBC, whether this builds trusts, on that institution.
Yeah, it's actually worrying. It's not something good that we should allow to continue if there are a mechanism of stopping it, because when you have players, in the field, and one player is deliberately attacking the referee and the other one is praising the referee, it worries the spectator, the person who is actually looking at it from the outside, because you may not know what is actually going on. What we are not saying as Kenyans, we are still kind of being careful to say things that are a little bit difficult to be said. That there seems to be certain things that these political actors know, which we don't know. They seem to want to drive a certain narrative, which we are not seeing as the ordinary Kenyan people. And to me, I think that has to be stopped. And the best way of us stopping is actually to question our political players, that they need to be careful, because we have a country beyond 9th August. We really don't want a symbol, it may be symbol, but of course a serious one-day activity to destroy all what we have been working on for the years we have lived in this country. So to me, I think it is important that we engage the political class and actually persuade them not to continue doing what they are doing, because what they are doing is not right. We cannot continue criticizing and actually creating perceptions that maybe this group are associated with this, or painting the commission to be allied to one particular group, and the other one are seen as the outsiders. They don't know what's going on, or they are blaming the relationship between that group and that group. To me, these are purely perceptions which we have to resist as a country.
Sifting through the proposals of some of these political parties and political actors, the church, the mosques, faithfuls are confronted with moral questions. You have some advocating for the open use of cannabis, and I think you've had it in public platforms. How does the church, how do clerics in mosques also advance the conversation of a credible election, and touch on this moral question without appearing like to direct their faithfuls how to vote?
Yeah, allow me just to comment on something before answering your question.
Right.
And I want to say that these 10 days are 10 days where some people will be desperate, and perhaps expectations seem to be short, and they'll try to use modes and means that are not ethical and proper. We'll find peddlers of lies, we'll find peddlers of fear, we'll find peddlers of misinformation. And so I think that's one of the things when you speak about what's happening with the candidates, that we urge the Kenyan to be more attentive and cautious to what comes out of the mouth of these people seeking office, so that we don't get swallowed by that vitriol or those peddle of fake information or whatever. So I think that's important that we put. What's our role in this moment? What's our role as church to the congregants? I think the first thing we all have is civic duty, responsibility, both for the candidates, being responsible in what they say, and for the citizens, being responsible not only on the day of voting, but currently, this Kenya is in our hands. This is not in the hands of politicians. Kenya is in our hands. Responsibility. And that responsibility will guide us towards the reflection of which candidate best deserves my vote. And I say best deserves. Sometimes you won't have the best candidate, but you look at the best deserving who will deliver the Kenya we desire, the dream, or at least a block towards what we want. A person who is open, a person who consults, a person who has integrity, or at least can be helped towards living the life of it. So in this context, we as religious leaders have a role to remind the people that our responsibility in the vote cannot be alienated from you. And that responsibility also goes to responsibility for Kenya and a peaceful Kenya. We must remind the people that Kenya is bigger than all of us, bigger than this seeking office, and bigger than even what dreams that these people are selling to us sometimes out of their own greed or desire to grab that seat. So Kenya is so big that each one of us has to play a role to keep peace. So our role is to help sanity and reason, so that in conscience the Kenyan makes a responsible use of this opportunity of election, and in the environment also responsibly defends what all of us sing in our national anthem. That is what our role fundamentally is. It is not to say vote for this or vote for the other. It is to give the criteria, to accompany, and to tell them there is a dream far there, and this is just one step towards that dream. Make sure you're going up, not down.
Hassan, as you come in on that question, very interesting things, the criteria, but you do not direct them or tell them who to vote for, but the criteria of good leadership. And I'm just thinking, Hassan, if you have the criteria, then you know who ticks the boxes. Why not just tell your faithfuls, this is where to go?
Yeah, but
tricky one, yeah?
It's a tricky one, because we have a duty, as rightly said by the Archbishop, that we have a civic duty to not only to our constituents but also to the country. What really makes it very difficult for a religious leader to stand in a pulpit, maybe with 500 people or more, or 1,000 people, for example, and tell the 1,000 people, all of them Kenyans, that I want you to go to this direction. Because they made every human being as its own criteria of looking at things. We may look at the one thing, all of us together, but we may not agree whether that is how it looks like. It is quite different from whatever. But as a religious leader, you avoid a situation where you'll be actually dividing your own people. But you empower these people with knowledge and information to be able to make an informed decision, but not necessarily telling them, pass this route, don't go that way. So if you put in place the information that they require, you'll be actually assured that they'll make a correct decision. You'll not even be doubting. They do the right thing. But directing them will not be really something good for religion.
As you respond to that, Archbishop, because President Uhuru Kenyatta, I think even in a meeting that you were in, the president challenged religious leaders to stand up now and speak the truth. Don't fear to take a position. I'm still on that. Why not take a position?
I think we have to distinguish the realms. There is a political realm, which the leaders may have their own opinions, and there is a religious realm, which we as religious have got to be always be the conscience of the people, and also shepherds and the safety net for all are ours. Those who err and those who are in the right, they are still ours to follow. So we cannot start dividing and excluding. That is the first criteria of leadership in religion. And we are trying to get a common ground. I also think that as Hassan has just said, we have across the divide very many views that are, and they have a right to those views. And democracy, remember, is numbers. And what happens is that we don't know the character that you want to say that is very good. Maybe he's not that good. So he must be looked from all perspectives, which means as many eyes as the votes must look at him and assess him. And if they are honest, statistically, you reach, through democracy, the person best suited. If we were idealistic, that is what would happen. That I'll look at this man and say, oh no, I saw him while he was managing, or this other person says, no, I heard him in a funeral, oh no, this other person says, oh, you see, he was with his children who are poor. So all these people are looking and they think he's good. But then the other gentleman said, oh no, he sacked his watchman. Oh no, he's very unfair in his family. So in the many views that we cannot all assume we know the person we're voting for so well, that therefore he is the one. So in a sense, it's a work of seeking a general view that democracy provides us. So when democracy is fully uninformed and literate, voting, knowing I know the person, I seek to know as much, then most times it will give us the better of the ones who were there. And I think then there is no dogma about it. It's not that this person should. It's about the best suited at this moment should. And then we work with that person to improve the delivery, and especially to improve the society, the safeguard of the society, and the welfare of the society, and uplifting of society. So it's not, at times we seem to think that election day is doomsday. I rather look at it as being covenant day. It's a day we make a covenant to start walking. It's not the doomsday of when you do or die. It is a beginning of a covenant. And sometimes it can be that we start at a low grade, but it's a journey we must go. So Kenyans must see this is the beginning of building an environment that continues. And it's not 5 years and then it ends and then we have another round as if they were independent, not connected. It's a lifetime of our nation, and we hope we're going towards that Kenya we desire at the end.
Hassan, I'm sure you've heard of allegations of religious leaders being fence sitters. And I'm going still back to the moral questions that confront Kenyans in this election. There are those who would ask, is it a failure of the religious leaders or the failure of society in general that we are confronted by so many moral questions, particularly in this election?
Actually, the moral question is not about these elections only. It is actually what humanity has lived with as long as that's been existed in the world. It's only that I don't know how this becoming a big issue now. We are really all everywhere you hear the moral question being drawn here and there, but really this is something that as we have lived with. As a country, we come from, as Africans actually, we come from a totally different system of governance. We have just adopted democracy, which is an alien kind of ideology, unlike what we have used to. In our traditional systems, all the African communities used to nominate. There were no elections, but people used to look at the background of their person, their family, their father, and kind of stuff, and then say, okay, I think this person from this family can actually be a good leader. That's the criteria they used to, which was not competitive, but it served the purpose for that time. But in democracy, it's a situation where somebody actually presents himself or herself. Nobody goes to tell somebody, come on, can you fight for this position? They present themselves without being asked by anyone. So it doesn't mean that, and that is the reason why I think Archbishop was saying, we actually try to look at, as we educate our people, who is better, not necessarily who is good, but who is better in those who are presenting themselves. Because these people are presenting themselves. They are not being dominated or invited by anyone to come and contest for these positions. So when we are looking at those who have now presented themselves, they are the ones who have presented themselves. Where are they good? Where are they best? Where are they? Where are we not seeing them now in the field? Because what we are now struggling is to say, maybe there are lots of moral questions and whatever, but on your question, to be specific, is that I think there is a kind of enlightenment in the Kenyan society. And that is why the difference between this election and 2017 and beyond, you'll actually see some sense of issues being thrown out, issues being discussed. They may not be getting the right suggestions or solutions, but issues are being discussed. This is the first time that is actually happening. In many in the past, there were kind of ethnic, clan, and other mobilization methods that were being used. But today, at least somebody is talking about something. Oh, there is this economy model, there is that model, there is this and there is that. Which, to me, I think is actually a very encouraging moment we are living as a country. And we are seeing some sort of, we may actually be getting some democracy dividends in the near future. But as we live to that, as we pray and live to that future, is that we actually have to accept that what we need to do now is to interrogate those issues. And I don't want to agree with you that the religious community has failed or the religious leadership has failed. The religious leadership is actually doing their role. But what they cannot do, they cannot bring the candidate to the Kenyan people. It is the candidates to present themselves. It is all of us, it's upon us now to look at which candidate is better.
Bishop, what do you say then of religious leaders who have already taken a position, particularly in this election, and much more, because much of what we find very divisive is the presidential election, of religious leaders who have already taken a position as regards who they support in this election?
In my opinion, religious leaders should remain non-partisan. In my opinion, it is us who will help this country find the right balance. We are the ones who come in the gap when there is polarization. And it's that both candidates or the 4 candidates in the presidential are still our people. And so I do believe that any honest and a religious leader who wants the good of this country would try to direct in a very open way. But I allow me also to comment on the issue you already asked about, the moral and the ethics. Why now we are facing this? We're in a society that is more liberal than ever. We're in a society where we have been bombarded with unethical behavior through entertainment, media, and what is in vogue, what is trending in entertainment, that a lot of our younger generation, I'm speaking about the less than 35 aged, are finding at times a total confusion of what is right and wrong. It becomes then very easy. They're very vulnerable to sell to them items and ideas that are totally inhuman and unacceptable in any civilized society. Take, for example, drugs. It would be someone who doesn't know the situation and the effects that drugs have had in this country, in our schools, for even to suggest. Take prostitution and moral. Those are first. But I think the real moral issue in our country, much as those are very serious, is about corruption. Is that we always dance around it. We seem to always dance around the corruption issue. And everyone comes with a fantastic blueprint of how this will work. But we really don't seem to have teeth to follow it through. And so in this context, I would say it's important that the ethical conscience of our country wakes up, that when the religious leaders are speaking about the moral issues, it isn't just up there in the clouds. We've had suicides in this country that in a rate we've never had before. We have had tremendous situations of family dispute, violence, domestic violence of the highest level we've ever had. So it's logical that those situations be considered.
All right.
Finally, that it's important that life, human dignity be placed at the center of this discussion, especially the moral of the poor in our country. How are we dealing with them? Are we abusing, using, or are we serving and uplifting?
Quite a fantastic question there. Unfortunately, I'm told we have to put a cap on this conversation, but let me give each one of you a minute to deliver your message of peace. It's 10 days towards the next general election. It's only fair then we give a message of peace to Kenyans as they head to the elections. Hassan.
Yeah, I think we have always emphasized as religious leaders the importance of maintaining peace before, during, and after elections. We have been reminded by many people, friends of Kenya, our religious leaders, that Kenya will be there beyond the August. What we are basically doing, we are looking for the next person or group of people to be in charge of our country for the next 5 years. So there is no need for us to destroy what we have actually worked on, what we have, institutions that we have established, and even create unnecessary suffering for our people, where we lose lives, the properties are destroyed, we displace our people and communities, because my person or our person have not been elected or have not been in office, because this is the only time that we are actually practicing our rights of getting who becomes our next leader for the next 5 years. I think it is important that if we disagree on any matter on elections, we have institutions that handle those particular issues. We don't need to kill one another, because we shall remain neighbors, we shall remain brothers and sisters, we shall remain the faithful of the same institutions that we go for our worship and other things, and Kenya will continue beyond that. Thank you.
Archbishop, your message of peace.
First and foremost, I'd like to tell Kenyans that we congratulate you by how we have actually behaved in this time of campaign. We've really shown a great moment. And this is the spirit. There are those prophets of doom who have been saying it's impossible to deliver an election that is peaceful in Kenya or that is fair and credible in Kenya. We must prove them wrong. And it is we Kenyans. We must be the safeguard of peace. We must be the ones who protect peace, but also the dispensers of peace. We must talk peace. We must, to one another, give peace. And this goes first to our candidates, who, should we ask, we plead, let there be words that are reconciliatory, that are communion, bring people together, union, and peaceful. And the Kenyans, especially the young people, that we have a future. We have a Kenya we dream. We may not quite be there, but it depends on how we, this moment, as it were, work with the peace, bring out the peace, and manage this moment, which is crucial for the future of our country. We'd like to say that we believe and pray that after August 9th, we are going to continue as brothers and sisters. We challenge the institutions, of course, because justice is at the base of peace, that they may do all that they can in order to make sure the processes are fair and transparent. Therefore, they will be credible and therefore legitimate. We pray that this is what we are going to deliver. But Kenyans, let us hold together. Let us continue this defense we've made for peace. And finally, please, let us kneel to God. He's the one who bestows on us peace, before him, and ask him, give us peace, be with us. Let's be in your hands and defend this country that believes in you and that is worth so much that it's not worth to lose it, nor even lose one soul because of elections.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hassan Olinadu from the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, that is SUPKEM, and Bishop Anthony Muheria of the Catholic Diocese of Nyeri, talking about elections, the need for peace, but again, the place of a church as well as Muslim clerics and the faithfuls in the playing their part when it comes to the maintenance of peace and doing the civic duty of going out to vote and voting responsibly. That's where we end Prime Edition tonight. My name is John Jacob Kioria. See you around. God bless you. Good night.
We need numbers.
And I'm sure Dad is not supposed to find out about this.
No, not in this life.
How would you like coming to work here at JNJ?
Is Kathy in agreement with all of this?
I'm not answerable to her.
Why don't you want the same thing as your mother? How do I trust you?
I'll help you the board members.
How?
I'll call them one by one.
I may want to hire your cousin.
Wewe nakutambua.
Baadaye.
Juu hasa umepataka hiyo kazi, utanipatia 20%.
Kio hii, usisemage mimi huwa sikujegi.
Wewe, usifanye nikuwe tena wewe. Mimi umepataka nikitaka kutoka ni sherehe kazi.
Must he be here?
Alafu utaniachia mlango, mimi nitafunga after meeting.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July